Let's get more on all of this with Ryan Mauro, national security analyst at the Clarion Project. Ryan, nice to have you with us. And Ryan, as we've been discussing, President Trump says he is willing to negotiate with Iran without any preconditions. What do you make of it?
Well, it's a high-risk proposition. On the one hand, I can see the logic behind it, because when the United States says we're not going to even talk to you unless you give us something, it does put us at a diplomatic disadvantage. It allows the Iranian regime to characterize us as being the stubborn ones, not willing to engage in diplomacy. So if you can take away that argument, kind of makes sense. But if a meeting were to actually happen, and I think the regime would love that, we better be prepared and understand that the Iranian regime will be coached by the North Koreans and will be coached by the Russians with psychological profiles on how to make a circus out of it and how to use Trump's presence to their advantage, how to win him over, or at least make it look like they've won him over.
So Ryan, you think that Rouhani will agree to this meeting then?
He has to worry about a backlash because there is an ultra-conservative, even more radical faction within the regime, and it's hard to tell how strong they are. But I think in his ideal world, yes. And if he could come to President Trump and say, look, I'll work with you on something, but make sure the sanctions aren't as tough as you originally intend. I'll meet you halfway. Or end your support for the Iranian people who are protesting. From Rouhani and the regime's perspective, that'd be a big win because they're in trouble. So us just giving up a little bit could be what saves the regime.
Well, it's unlikely that the president would do this, considering how he criticized the Obama deal for being so disastrous. And one of the issues that he took with that deal is that concessions were made up front. Money was given up front. So unlikely that the president would give way on any sanctions before there's anything concrete. But in any event, Ryan, those sanctions haven't even kicked in yet. The U.S. gave businesses until August 6th to wind down their operations. Those oil sanctions only kick in November. And the Iranian economy is already taking a big hit. So what happens when those sanctions do kick in?
You might be seeing the final days of the Iranian regime. I mean, its existence is not something that we need to tolerate. The Iranian regime's a big threat, and that has led to some people to think that that means that they're strong. There's actually a difference there. You can be a big threat, but be incredibly weak at the same time. And we haven't exploited the Iranian regime's weaknesses really ever. And the biggest weaknesses are the economy and the support of the Iranian people for some type of change internally. To give you an idea of the numbers, about half of the population is minority, and they are oppressed. So there are oppressed minorities, and then of the remaining half that are Persian, a majority of those people hate the regime. So you're not talking about a slim majority that oppose the regime, you're talking about a strong majority.
And to that point, Ryan, both President Trump and Secretary of State Pompeo have stressed that their grievance is not with the Iranian people, but with the mullahs in Tehran. They've actually indicated support for the people, as we mentioned earlier. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has also done the same, offering ways in which to help with the Iranians with major issues like their water shortages. Are those messages to the Iranian people getting through, do you think?
Yes, if you look at videos that have leaked out from what the Iranian protesters are saying and how they are reacting to the typical death to America chants, they're responding with pro-American, pro-Western, anti-regime messages. So I would say that we are decisively winning the ideological war on the streets of Tehran right now. But now it's about turning those propaganda and ideological victories into something of real substance. And my concern is that if the Iranian regime has its back up against the wall and they're actually willing to give up something, will we be put into a place where we have to choose between a wonderful deal with the Iranian regime that saves it or backing the Iranian people and putting this problem behind us? And I don't know if that situation happens where the Trump administration is going to come down on.
It would have to be a very comprehensive, very wonderful, as you put it, deal. Then, Ryan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Ryan Mauro, national security analyst with the Clarion Project.